Hi, welcome to Everything Education with DrRoz. I'm your host, DrRoz. Thank you for joining me. This is the beginning of season 2. This is episode 1. I want to start this season off by discussing some things that were highlighted in season 1. Today's episode is about rekindling some of those best practices and instructional insights and strategies to get us on the way to making sure that our scholars have everything that they need so that they can be successful in the learning environment, not just behaviorally, but academically as well. So, this particular episode is going to focus on a myriad of things. And I just want to have a conversation about some of the things that we should be doing in our classrooms to ensure that our students are prepared to do their very best as we head into the second part of the school year and testing begins. It's so important that we prepare them the best way that we can. Again, for both academics and behavior. There are some things that I've made a list of that we should remember. And so I've just kind of outlined them for you, and I'll just discuss each one briefly. So let's begin with skill versus free will. That's a mouthful right there. All of our students have skills. Every student comes prepared with skills and abilities. It's our job to bring that out of them. However, because we're all human, we have to deal with free will. Academic skill can be taught, and again, they come with background experiences, and so they have some knowledge when they enter the classroom, whether it's a deep set of knowledge regarding the content or not. Every human being has some skills and abilities, but we struggle with that free will, that motivation, the behavior. So I want to just remind us as educators that we have a job to do, and we have to overcome the free will if it's not aligned with what we are trying to do in our instructional environment. We have to be able to have our students have a deep desire to want to learn. Part of that is creating a climate in your classroom where they feel safe, seen, and heard. Once that climate is established and students feel that they can trust not just you, the educator, but the information that's being shared and the environment that's being presented, then I truly believe that free will come around to this is where I want to be, and there are some things that I need to get. So we want to make sure that our scholars feel seen, safe, and heard. So that's the skill versus free will. Just keep that in mind. We all have free will. The next thing I would like to discuss is behavior escalation. Now, there are so many reasons why students behave versus those who do not behave. There are several stages of behavior escalation, and I want to address each stage, but it's important for you to understand that when they enter the room, most of the time, if there's nothing that has occurred prior to them entering the classroom, generally they'll enter calm. They'll enter with rational thoughts and thinking for the most part. Unfortunately, in the learning environment, because there's so many different personalities in one room, and you have one adult conducting the orchestra of behaviors, you have to remember that there will be triggers in the classroom. They're not planned all the time. Sometimes things just naturally occur. Students get on each other's nerves. You have some students, they have great relationships. Then you have some students where they don't like each other. Same thing with adults. Nothing is different except the age. But it's important to manage those expectations in the classroom. So with behavior escalation, when your students enter the classroom, you want to have a calm environment in place already, because we don't know how they're going to enter the room all of the time. But most of the time, they do enter in a calm manner. Just remember to be vigilant about recognizing any triggers that may occur, anything that may agitate them. Those triggers and agitations will set them into a spiral of chaos. So you want to manage those behaviors in the classroom, because learning can't take place if there's uncontrolled chaos in the environment. I've always educated in my classroom with a controlled amount of chaos. Chaos will ensue. You have 25, 30 personalities with your one. So there's bound to be some type of agitation, trigger, or problem. How you handle it is key. The whole entire goal with dealing with behavior escalation is to ensure that it doesn't reach a peak, that it does not blow up in the room. And you have to manage that. You want to keep everything in a de escalation level. You want to keep everyone feeling safe, seen, and heard. You have to understand that behaviors don't occur all of the time just because they've decided to misbehave. Sometimes the students feel inadequate, that they don't know the material, and they feel like they're being seen, that everyone in the room can see that they don't know. So that can cause a disruption. You may have a student that has less than someone else in the room. So there may be a socioeconomic issue. There's so many reasons why a trigger or agitation can occur in the learning environment. So, as the educator in the room, the only adult in the room, it's important to manage that and to let them know that you're in control of the environment. You understand things happen, but we're here to learn. So, that's very, very important. So, again, we want to motivate our students to remain engaged and to learn. We don't want to accelerate negative behavior. So ultimately, our job is a continuous process of teaching. We want to teach, we want to assess, we want to analyze data, and we want to adjust our instruction. But none of that can happen if the classroom is in chaos. So we need to plan and deliver instruction. We need to assess our students' understanding. Always, always, always assess our students. Once you have applied the assessment, then you have to analyze the information, analyze the data that's coming back from that to identify any type of learning gaps that may be occurring in the classroom. And then you have to be mature enough to say, you know what? I need to adjust my instruction and provide more targeted interventions so that my students can master the content that I'm teaching. You can't let ego and pride and thinking that your way is the only way get in the way of students learning. So those are things that we should be doing. I kind of touched on the teaching and assessing already. It is so important that we continuously assess our students. That's the only way that we know that they're learning. So a lot of informal assessments, thumbs up, thumbs down. You can have them actually restate or summarize. You can have them talk to an elbow partner. You can put information up around the walls, have it posted, and have them select an area to go to for a particular question. Or you can do a quick exit ticket. You could ask a good question There's so many ways that you can assess your students. And fortunately, now with curriculum, there are so many built-in assessments and checks for understanding. So use those to help to make sure you are on track and targeted with your instruction. Progress monitoring ties into this. There's so many reasons to progress monitor your students. First of all, progress monitoring, it provides timely data, and that is so important. We want to help identify any type of learning gaps, but we want to do it early. We want to do it in time so that learning can take place. It will also inform any adjustments, as I mentioned before, in your instruction. And this to me is one of the biggest pieces of progress monitoring. It actually makes students be engaged in their own learning. It makes them responsible for their own learning. We have to remember that I know we give report cards and quarterly grades and conduct grades, but report cards, there's the grades on those are subjective. I mean, let's be honest. We can delete a assignment from the grade book where students overall did not do well. That'll help the grade go up. We can drop their lowest grade. We can do a sliding scale. There's so many things teachers do for their grade book, but they don't necessarily align with state assessment or state testing. So we have to keep that in mind. So report cards and grades, they're limited information regarding the specific needs that our students may have, and they may not align, again, with standardized tests. Questioning is another big piece of this. You want to ask really great questions during instruction because those questions invite students to link their learning to make sure that they understand what they're learning. It allows them to engage. And then, of course, assessments. Questions, good diagnostic questions are great questions that you can use to assess learning in your classroom. So, questioning is another key piece of assessing our students and maintaining control in the environment and what they're learning. Engagement. We want to use engagement strategies to your advantage. Again, the thumbs up, thumbs down, fist to five, pause and reflect questions, think, pair, share. One of the things I think we can do better is wait time. Allow students time to think and process what you actually asked them for the assignment. Four corners. There's so many things that we can do for engagement strategies, but just remember that's what they're for, to engage the learning in the classroom. And then talking about your thinking, those are those great think alouds. We want to model that. Talking about your thinking, it fosters collaboration and it helps our learners understand different ways of thinking. It's a great opportunity for them to vocalize and problem solve out loud. So that's what we want to do. We want to be intentional about that. We want to be flexible and inclusive. We want our scholars to be able to share what they think they know, whether it's right or wrong. That's our job to give that immediate feedback and facilitate the learning environment. So we want to be encouraging our learners and have a safe environment and be patient with them in their learning. And we have to do a better job of balancing traditional teaching and learning with the use of technology. Technology is great, but we have to use it effectively. So we want to have our scholars understand that it's okay to think aloud, it's okay to talk to yourself academically. You want to give them time to assess what they are learning. So all types of strategies, sentence stems, provide those. Things like I was confused by. Let them talk about what they are confused about. Have them summarize, have them reflect. questioning again. Visualization is another great one. I can picture and then give them that sentence stem. So we want our scholars to have evidence of their learning, and these are some ways that we can do that. So thank you so much for joining me for the kickoff of season 2, episode 1, teaching our students about learning. Some key things that we want them to remember. So thank you again. Join me next week for episode 2. And again, season 2 is all about reflecting on what we can do to increase engagement and learning and instruction in the classroom. Thank you for joining me with Everything Education with DrRoz.